Good morning, Fanny. How
Hello.
are you?
Good, good. It's we survived day one of the fair, so it's fine.
Survived day one of the fair because today is November 7th. I just realized that it's my mother's birthday, basically,
Pourquoi?
quick reminder for myself to call her just after. And but moreover, this week is a very special week in Paris because we have the chance to have Paris photo happening. We
Mhm.
already had the chance to record two episodes about it at NFT Morning, and basically we had the chance to attend the VIP day yesterday, the pre-opening of the show. And so yeah, before introducing our guest of today, because we have the chance to have two
A lot
really
of people
important
today.
projects and galleries there. Hey, Remy just showing.
Ah,
Remy is surprisingly popping up.
I was in the wrong space.
Okay, yeah, because it's actually, I think it's important to mention that for people following us live, we have two NFT morning session in a row. So the first one right now, and you will discover, the artist with basically, Erika Weitz, Thomas Noya, that will present their project on FX Hash, and then Anna Maria Caballero presenting also the project she's exhibiting with Office in Parts. But then at 10 a.m., we have another show with La Collection and Jack Butcher. So yeah, we are busy. We have a fair. We have a lot of. We try to catch everybody. So it's gonna be an intense morning for all of us, and super happy. So before we have our guest, and we we will talk about their project. Fanny, I just wanted your feedback about what's going on uh, in Paris Photo and how was the first day for you. I believe you've been doing some
Yeah,
visits.
so
Yeah,
we did. So it's funny because you're mentioning that yesterday was the pre-opening, and the fun fact with art fairs is that they're always like VIP days. But when you have a VIP entrance, you should know that there's always a more VIP than you, right? So there was actually already a few previews, and so which started actually the day before with the JP Morgan party, and then yesterday it was 11 a.m. was the collectors, then the VIP at 2, and I think there was even something before 11. So it's kind of the game at art fairs. It's like
it's
it's
pretty
always
fun.
trying to be.
It's pretty fun that you're mentioning that to me because I was a friend of mine. I met a friend of mine who's not really into art fairs, and he came to me. It was yesterday evening, and said, "Oh, John, yeah, we are always finding up together in VIP's part of the events." And this is what I told him. I told him, for this kind of fair, if you're not in the VIP at the VIP receptions, it means that you really didn't want to come this day because there are always more VVIPs and even VVVIPs
Yeah,
before you
exactly.
that are
And
showing
it's very interesting because it's also different country to country. Because in the US, for example, nobody would pay for a ticket to go to an art fair. It's like it's a game, right? It's like well, first when you work in the industry, there's no way you pay for anything, right? And then there are much fewer people coming to the public days. In France, there's this tradition or like kind of culture of going as an event. You would go to a salon, you would go to a museum, and so this is what like people are expecting for the rest of the weekend is that like this is going to be packed days with the public, which is very different from like an Art Basel Miami or like it is. I mean, people are coming, but if you don't sell and if people haven't come to see your booth like in the first few days, that's over. Like so but the first day went well, and it's a lot. It's 15 galleries. I mean, you have like I don't know how many NFT mornings planned this week, and so it was many people. I mean, it's the first day, so there's fewer people because there are more VIPs, And but very positive. We did a few guided tours with 100 collectors to try to break the ice and get people to engage with the digital sector, because all the other guided tours of the fair do not include the digital sector yet. So we have to take our matters in our own hands, and as you do with the NFT morning and highlighting the project. So it's great to hear about two great booths that you'll present today.
Yeah, no. Yesterday was very, very on my hand. I feel like the exhibitors were saying that it was not so crowdy, especially in the morning. But I think this is what people appreciated also, because you still. But I think all of us have been busy all the day, even if it was not crazily, because people had time to really have conversations and spend more together. And basically, I went only yesterday all the afternoon, and I say, okay, it's enough for me. But then I feel like I have to come back because I still need to see. There are a lot of things to see. So yeah, I really recommend you, if you didn't go so far, to go to the exhibition. But maybe I can introduce, because we have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guests today. So I will just welcome welcome on stage. Let me introduce them. Let me launch some applause. Basically, Anoyas, that represent the project on FX Hash. And we are Ana Maria Caballero and Anne France from the Fishing Part. Super happy to have you. Good morning, everybody. Wow. Excited to have you. Excited to see some familiar faces also coming back. I think Ana Maria, we had the chance to have you a few weeks ago already, just before the Lumen Prize, and the exhibition you did also. My brain start to be totally tired.
Barcelona with Horace Fetier.
Barcelona, exactly. And so now, super happy to have all of you. Basically, we have 2 huge projects, and I had the chance to visit them yesterday. It's super qualitative, and super, the booths were beautiful. Maybe the first project, would like, that basically 2 main projects we'll talk about. The first one is Cymatic by you, Erica and Thomas. Basically, it's really interesting because it's mixing a lot of mediums, coming from the sound, music, and basically going to the physical with a lot of digital stuff in the middle. We'll talk about it. And it's minted on the FX Hash. On the other hand, Ana Maria, you are showcasing your project basically related to Borges text, being Borges. That is also, also it's pretty a mix of poetry, of AI, photography, collage. So yeah, these both projects are super rich, and I think it makes sense also, and to showcase them, in Paris. But yeah, maybe as we have a lot of things to do, let's talk about the project. Maybe Olga. How are you, Olga?
Yep. Hi, good morning, everyone. Good, very good. Excited for today's fair.
Yeah, super excited to and super happy to have you for the first time also at the NFT morning. You are curator, project manager at FX Hash. I feel like you're doing a lot of things there, right?
A bit of everything, yeah. I feel like we all wear multiple hats at FX Hash, so a bit of everything.
Okay. So you're doing everything at FX Hash. Looks like a good thing. So yeah, maybe just to reintroduce for people who don't know FX Hash, even if I'm not sure people in the space don't know FX Hash, but basically you started as a really creative and fresh generative art platform on the Tezos blockchain, actually, with something that was much more open than maybe Artblocks, to talk about the most famous one, where anyone can mint, and also in terms of freedom of code, much more flexibility for artists, to integrate the algorithm and create long forms, basically. And then, you started to become cross-chained to go on Ethereum, and now I think you have much more stuff. Basically, just to explain what's going on at FXHash right now.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, John. FXHash, I guess, existing since 2021 as an open platform, and we still do go as an open platform. We really value the possibility to provide access to everyone and not having any barriers for entering the space, for collectors to collect, for artists to publish and explore the medium. We are now on 3 blockchains, which makes us the largest cross-chain platform for generative art specifically. We utilize Tezos, Ethereum, and the Ethereum layer 2, which is Base. And it's free for artists to choose. We really don't impose anything. The only rule that remains is that the platform keeps open and you have to explore the code. So it's all about the long form. While I'll do events, it's quite challenging to do events for an open platform, and specifically for Periphoto, which is our first presentation. It's such a grand and the most important fair for photography. But I do feel like such events are very important for our community, for building credibility, and also having this chance to showcase the art to more global audience. And for this fair,
because it's your second time also at Paris Photo, right? No, it's the first time.
It's the first time. Yeah, it's the first time.
Hey, okay, wow.
Yeah. So I think it's a big deal. And I think that we are very proud that we can really bring projects to the fair. And it's quite challenging because long form generative art can be manifested in so many ways. So I'm really happy that for this first edition, we went with a project that actually bridges one of the earliest forms of photography together with custom software, and also brings together these 2 wonderful artists, Erica Weitz and Thomas Neue, into collaboration to co-explore, how each form really evolves and what it brings to the table. And like Erica was saying yesterday, we've got a little bit of everything for everyone at the fair. So Cymatic, the patterns of pentatonic, is something that was co-developed between FXHash and the artists for the fair, was the thought to dive deeper into how analog can manifest in the digital, and how digital can manifest in the analog. And without diving much into deep myself, perhaps I can overgive the stage to the artists.
Yeah, please, can you introduce us just, maybe Erica and Thomas, because maybe you also what they've been, what they've been doing before.
Yes, of course. So Erica Weitz is based in Los Angeles, and she's a multidisciplinary artist. She's one of the not many people who is an expert in wet blade collodion photography. And for this project, she gave it absolute best to combine many centuries of photographic and image making processes. Thomas Neue is a generative artist. He's one of our community favorites and has many projects at FXHash. So it was immediately very obvious that we really wanted to work with Thomas for this project, because he has a very specific in-depth interest in how you capture light through code. Thomas is Venezuelan and just moved to Los Angeles, which made it very interesting because that was a very live process of collaboration for them both, going to the studio and really going to lots of art shows and drawing inspiration from historical processes of photography and electronic abstractions, leading to Cymatic.
Okay, awesome. So maybe if I understand well, so this Cymatic project, so it's a collab on you're more, Thomas, you're more on the algorithm side, and Erica, you're more on the material side. Am I right? Maybe, yeah. Erica, please.
Yeah, I think it's well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's nice to be here, and it's nice to be in Paris with all of you guys. Yeah, it's a collaborative project. So the idea and the concept of Cymatic kind of came about as a way to capture coded light in analog processes. So essentially code being one of the newest forms of image making and wet plate collodion being one of the oldest forms of image capture. I wanted to make sure that those two mediums, I guess, were in a conversation on the spectrum of what an image can be, and to kind of expand what that image could be. So I think that there's a long legacy of image making and image technology, and kind of combining those two allows for just a deeper conversation, and hopefully instead of them being at two opposite ends of the spectrum, it kind of bends that spectrum to be a more cyclical conversation.
I see. Okay. And just, before you start introducing and explaining the project, maybe, okay, let me just show you quickly, even if, to be honest, the booth is beautiful. It's the setup and the material are amazing. I believe, okay, you can see, I think a picture cannot really show people, the emotion you have, when you are visualizing these pieces, because the first, I believe, that the 5 pieces that we can see in the middle are basically printed on silver. Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct. So wet plate collodion is from the 1850s, and it uses silver nitrate, and captures light in silver particles, and those are photographed on black metal.
Okay, so visually, it's extremely impressive, and I think when people are going in front of it, they see on one hand these 5 pieces, on the other hand, I will show it again, but you have one wall that is fully printed also with an artwork. So I believe it's very impressive, the quality, and also pretty intriguing. And then when you dig into the concept, it's also it's also pretty conceptual, because the starting point, if I'm not wrong, are the pentatonic scales in music, right?
Correct. So the pentatonic scale is like when you first pick up an instrument, it's usually the first scale that you learn how to play. So it's really accessible that way as music goes, but it's also the scale that gives like the emotional warmth to things like the blues and gospel and folk music from around the globe. So it's a pretty universal scale.
But for people who don't know, because I think for I don't know, I didn't know what was before talking with you. I didn't know exactly what was a pentatonic scale, to be honest, because I believe in music, for when people are playing on the piano, for example, they will do I don't know, I even don't know how to name the frequencies in English, but A, B, C, D, E, F, or something like this. So it's like la 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 la, something like this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frequencies. But then when you're talking about pentatonic, it's only 5 frequencies, right?
Correct. So what we're doing with cymatics is a whole field of science in itself. It's where you can visualize sound by using a metal plate and putting sand on it, and having a subwoofer or some sort of sound vibration underneath the plate. And so when you play a certain frequency, that sand on the plate makes patterns. So one of the patterns it makes maybe looks like a turtle shell or something like that. So that was really when I first heard about cymatics. This is many, many years ago. It like really changed my viewpoint of the world. So that's why I wanted to dive into cymatics.
For example, this one that we are seeing right now is basically kind of concentric circles, basically the visualization of the impact of the sound of the one of the frequencies, right?
Correct. So that's the middle C, and why I wanted to use cymatics with Thomas and his proficiency in code is because code can be very precise, and it can draw in ways that maybe the hand can't. So with Thomas, what he was able to do is he was able to take the patterns that the sound visualization made, and he was able to make generative pieces based on the pattern of the visualization of, like, this one being the middle C note. So each note has its own mark making technique, and maybe Thomas can go in and talk further about that on a technical side. But this is the visualization of the C note.
That's crazy.
So middle C.
Just because as I'm a bit stupid, and it's 9 a.m., so I need time to process all the information. So basically, yeah, it's really retranscripting the real movement of sound waves, basically, that are happening when you play one frequency, and each frequency has a different kind of way of propagation of the waves. And so then, thanks to Thomas' work, you created like an algorithm retranscripting the way the waves are moving, thanks to an algorithm, right, Thomas?
Yeah. So first, hi, John. Thank you for having us.
No, thank you, Thomas.
Thank you to everyone else who's here today and listening. So yeah, basically, like Erica was saying, is like you take these particles of sound, you put them on the plate, and then the sound travels through the plate, but then it reaches the end and then starts bouncing back into the center. And that bouncing of the waves is what creates different patterns depending on the frequency. So what we did was we got our notes, we played in like a physical plate that Erica has at her studio, and then we recreated those patterns that we formed in the computer with the algorithm, and then we went from the computer and the pixels to web plate. So I think going back to this idea Erica was mentioning about a conversation, it's also like this translation process between all these mediums. Like we start with sound, we go through sound and metal, then we go to the computer and pixels and electronic light, and then we go back to the origin of photography. So I think it's like a really interesting exercise in conversation translation and like this cyclical recurrent theme that we have in the project.
And it's very interesting because it's actually a technique that was we were talking about it with Erica yesterday, that was used, like wet colored on plates, that was used at the origin of photography. So it's also to show that, like, we haven't invented anything. We're just like using new technologies or superposing new technologies to ones that have existed for centuries. And talking about translation between physical, digital, but also techniques and discussion with other parts of the fair who are showing historical photographer. I think this is fascinating to me.
Yeah, and I think that one thing about it too that is interesting to me is, like, light and sound both travel in waves, and they're both measured in frequencies. So there's already these kind of parallels. And then there's these parallels between what Thomas does in code and what I do in the darkroom, as far as kind of what I do in the darkroom could somewhat be analog generative. And what he does is generative code. So we're kind of taking the best of what each medium has to offer, and we're having a conversation between those two. We're also having this conversation with, like, a history of photography. So Thomas and I there's a PST show at the Getty right now on a lot of this type of capturing long exposure light, but a lot of the work was from the 1920s. So when we were there, we were talking and we were like, wow, like, these are kind of like our creative ancestors. And, like, if they had code in the 1920s, they would be using it. But, like, they didn't. So they were using different analog techniques. And so I think because we have code now, and because Thomas is so proficient in code, and because you can draw with light essentially in such a precise way, it's just using the tools that we have of our time. But we also have the tools of the past. So we're able to take these things and kind of have a conversation of 3 different centuries of image capture technology, image making technology, and really kind of just pick and choose what we want to use and highlight not only their differences and celebrate the differences of them, but like use the best things that they have to offer. You know, code is great because, you know, Thomas can sit there and generate things once the code is written many, many times. And on the opposite end, a web plate is like, I'm lucky if I get one of those made in a night, you know? So it's like the preciousness of things there's definitely differences between them, but those differences are okay, you know? Like it's interesting to talk about the differences too, but there's a lot of parallels as well that come about in the process, and finding that there's parallels between these analog processes from the 1800s and then, you know, the 2020s in code has been like a really interesting space to dive into.
Wow. No, it's super. Thank you very much, Erika. It's super insightful and inspiring, actually, and yeah, resonate a lot. Also, I think to a lot of mine, not only musically, and so I now wanted to thank you for this. I just wanted to ask, you know, to come back to the fair and also, yeah, basically the exhibition. So you just to understand the drop, you have 5 physical pieces for sale, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's the 5 physical pieces, one of each of the 5 notes of the pentatonic scale. And then there will be a generative project that's being released on Tuesday, the 12th. And that will be the generative side of things. So when someone mints a generative piece, they're able to commission a physical piece based on their unique generative piece.
Okay, amazing. So basically today is November 7th until the end of the fair and even later. So the best way, even if people are not in the fair, if they're interested by the physical pieces, the best way is to contact FXhash or you, Erika. What is the best?
Yeah, FXhash, everything's going live on the FXhash website. So
Okay.
on Tuesday, they'll be able to mint their own pieces from the collection. And then when they mint the piece, if they want to commission a physical, I'm happy to take the piece that they have that's unique to them and create a physical for them.
Awesome. So they start. So it's yeah, on the 12th November. So you have a long form that will be released. How many pieces will be available? Maybe Thomas, you know?
100.
Thomas,
Yeah, 100.
100 pieces. And you have an idea about the price just for people? And it's
I think that one's for Olha.
more or less, no, but you know, okay. And bring you also Olga if she wants to say a few words. But basically, okay, so it will be on release at this moment, and digital first and potentially physical for people who want it.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think the idea is that you can basically redeem, like claim a physical from the digital rights, because they're always interconnected, even in the series. And the physicals also come with the digital counterparts, even if you collect them at the fair. The rough prices are in fiat around $200 for digital. Yeah. I will leave a link to our event page where everyone can monitor the updates on the collection.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Olga, for this precision for people. So yeah, so first go to Paris Fair. Secondly, you can go directly on the FXhash on November 12th. I wanted to ask actually also, because, you know, basically if you go to the digital sector, everybody's visiting each other. I don't know if Anna Maria, you had time to visit FXhash booths. I know you actually, you will talk about it, but the office Impart booth was busy also all the day. And I know you've been talking a lot. So I even don't know if you had time to walk around. Did you have time to do it, Anna Maria?
Very briefly, to be honest. I was just thinking that when you were saying how I need to spend more time at the FX Hash booth. I feel like I did a really quick loop. I haven't even really seen the non-digital sector as deeply as I wanted to. As you said, it's been really, really busy.
Yeah, agree with you. It's the same for me. I was sure that I will have time to visit much more. And even this, it's 15 booths in the digital sector. It's a lot. Actually, it's a lot. And even, if you want to spend enough time to understand, because as you can see, we saw that with Erica's and Thomas project, it's a mix of physical but also conceptual art. And also in what you doing, you need to chat to understand, and it's giving you a lot of idea, a lot of inspiration. So you need time to process it. So just the digital sector, you need I really believe you need at least one full day just to visit the digital sector, actually. And even if with one full day, you may feel like you may need a few more hours. So
But it's like art fairs like that. Like you should really consider them as the Louvre or the Met Museum. Like it's like you can't do everything. So focusing on like one section, like walking around casually without it's otherwise it's impossible. I mean, it is giant, and it's at the Grand Palais, so you have like on top of like the kind of square footage. I feel like the height of the ceiling is just adding to the impression of like this is a lot happening.
No, and you're right to mention also that it's coming back 5 years later after at the Grand Palais, and it's game changing. For me, it's a really much more different from the previous area where they've been. Even if it's nice also, but here the light is different, the architecture is beautiful. So to showcase art, I think it's really, really, really impactful. But let's talk about also you, Anne, because also it's the first time we have the chance to have you at the NFT morning, and I wanted
Thank you
to introduce us also. What you're doing also. What is your gallery about? Basically, what is your mission?
Yeah.
And before Anne starts, I want to say this is the first time at the NFT morning, but the second time at Paris Photo.
Exactly. So we are showing the second time. So we were there last year with the solo booth of Damiansky, and this time we show two artists, Ana Maria Caballero and Jonas Lund, and we are really happy. And as you all said, this is really a game changer with the Grand Palais. We have to say this as well. Even if we really used to go to art fairs, we have to say, like, I'm working in the field for 20 years now, and with my colleague Johanna, we founded Office Impart 6 years ago, but we both a really long time in the scene, coming more from the traditional part. So we're working for an international gallery in Berlin, but then with founding ourselves and the gallery, so we really thought a lot about what does it mean to live today, and what does it mean to have a gallery with all the changes around us, digitalization, technology, and so on. And for us, it's not only that we really have a focus on artists who are working with the materials of our time, as we like to say. We really thought about what does it mean also to run a business in our days. And so we really try to think also strategically, and also as gallerists, what does it mean? So it's to open up the mind to really think about which kind of what is a gallery, what is really a gallery, and so we focus on these kind of topics in different ways, and really like it. So art fairs is really something what we experience a lot, but we also really have to say that this kind of digital sector at Paris Photo is something special. Not only because you have this focus in the art, on the content, but also from, I would say, the people who are there and the group who are there, and so it's so much fun, and it's so nice to see all the colleagues, and it's really a group of people that everybody is nice, everybody's helping each other, everybody's knowing each other, and so it's like, how to say, it's I didn't find the word now, but it's more than just galleries next to each other. So I think that's what we wanted to say, and this we experienced not so often in other fairs, I have to say.
Wow. No,
So yes,
thank-
maybe like the space, like we are based in Berlin and working from there and doing shows, doing fairs, doing whatever, online, offline, and not really thinking about the borders between these both worlds.
Okay. No, that's super interesting, and I think I believe that digital natives gallery, of course, they are born with this question about what is a gallery, but the fact that you are. I think it's really interesting because I think it's a big topic, and we need to talk. It's a big topic.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because you really feel that their two worlds are crashing in a way. And I had yesterday a really interesting conversation with somebody who was talking about the art fair presentation as an exhibitions. And actually, I would never say that. Of course, it's curated, and we really thought about it, and it's very well, placed the pieces. But for me, it's not an exhibition. It's an art fair presentation. And but I think this is really where you are coming from, and I think this is really the topic what you, Fanny, just mentioned. I think it's really about time, because in an exhibition you are much more focused. You really you take your time. You are there, and it's just this and thing as an art fair. There's so much things distracting you and people and so much other, and you want not to miss anything out. And I think this is really one of this topic why I say this is a presentation and not an exhibition. But it's also just
I think and we need to invite you to have some definitions, because I think it's super interesting. But I mean we can see here also, for example, we're talking a lot about the galleries. Actually, FXH is doing kind of a solo show on the exhibition. But is it really a solo show, or is it something else? It's also
absolutely. It's just sometimes it's just the terms, but I really like the FXH booth. So we were doing the setup. We exchange a lot.
I have to say on here too, from being within the digital sector, there's such amazing work from so many people, and I still think that the digital sector is somewhat of a smaller sector, or like maybe the minority at the art fair. So it feels like everyone's kind of it's almost a rising tide lifts all ships. So it feels like everybody together, success of one booth is success of all booths, and really just speaks for the strength of the digital sector, and everyone's different approaches in the digital sector is really was really something that was really exciting for me to see, is like how people approach speaking about technology, and the quality of the work there across the board has just been really, really impressive.
I think really it's about the community and growing the things together.
That's super cool. And so to come on the works that you are exhibiting on the booth. Actually, I had the chance to visit it also, and you have a pretty good location, I believe, because I saw it was super busy yesterday. And so you are showcasing two artists, actually, so one of them is not here, but I think it could be interesting to talk about it. Jonas Lund with the Compressed Futures project, and then Ana Maria Caballero with the Being Borges. Maybe we know, before we are chatting with Ana Maria, you can tell us a bit more about Jonas' project.
Yes, happy to. So Jonas is an artist we also really work for a long time with, and he's Swedish but living in Amsterdam and London at the moment, and he's one of the artists who really early engage with technology and all the in different fields, and works very conceptual with it and about it, and always critical, but also always with a twinkle in the eye, I have to say. And so we really appreciate to work with him. And the new series, if you go down a little bit, you see it on the right side here in the image, and it's the Compressed Future series, which is a series of works that was made with AI mainly, and it is about technology and using text, and about translation, and about our daily life in a way. And it's it reminds everybody on film stills or and really abstract daily situations what we all experience, and it's about the digital developments in our lives or in the society, and it really points the finger. So it's always, you have a little text in the bottom, which is also reminds us like these kind of underscores in films. Has a lot of references to former works of him, where he has a film series called The Future Ofs. So what the AI means in our daily lives in different situations. And the last film was called The Future of Life, which is about how to say about eternal life and longevity. And so there was a company who was building something up in this direction. And so you always have these kind of frames of business, of politics, of personal lives in all these works. And they are laser cuts on aluminium. And then you in the titles you see it always has the underscores in the titles. So this one I really like a lot. I definitely prefer the other one. So you see it and then there. And and this is presented as a how he calls the stairs to success. So it's not just hanging on the wall. So it has this kind of special form. When you maybe go down a little bit, then maybe there's also like an installation view coming again where you can there you have. And this is the works of Jonas. And on the outside wall we're having an LED fan which has a reference to the films before, where the whole compressed or like the futures of him, there on the right. So it's really hard to photograph or to make a video out of it. So you have to come to the fair to really experience it. But it brings the whole series in a how to say, frames it.
No, again, materials are important, and I mentioned that when we talked about Erica's and Thomas' work, but here also, the aluminium effect, especially you have colored aluminium in this installation. You can see, playing with the red, blue, black and white. So congrats for really. Paris Photo is full of different ways of showcasing photography, not talking about only the digital exhibition, but I think the digital sector has been working hard also in terms of creativity to have booths that are really qualitative. I don't know if you had this feeling also on your hand.
For us it was important, but I think what is really interesting, if you see photography or if you think about image making today and what does it mean to create images, there's so much more things than just to do a photo. And this is what we really like and experience also in Jonas' work, but also of course in Anna's, that what does it mean to think about reality and to think about so I can't see you anymore.
Sorry.
Think about like this, what does it mean to work with images and text today? So this was our cultural approach for the booth, to both artists working with AI, but really more in the terms of that they are thinking about documentation, translation, and bringing their content into life.
Okay, makes sense. And then of course, you have also Ana Maria Being Borges project by Ana Maria Caballero. So basically represented by 3 pieces. Maybe I would show them also to. I would show them on screen.
Ana Maria started the Borges project last year. I think it's really nearly 1 year ago now, and we showed the first 3 in Berlin, and then the next 3 also in Berlin, and then a curated group show. And now we have number 7, 8, 9, right? From the series of 12.
Yeah.
And it's all based on a book of Jorge Luis Borges, The Imaginary Beings. And so we are really happy to have these 3 new pieces on the in the booth, because I think it's really interesting also to show it, because the physical experience is really something. Of course, it's a digital piece mainly, but the physical experience really makes something when you stand in front and read the poem and see the images behind. And so for us, I think from the content-wise, Anna is better to explain, but maybe just that's what we experienced yesterday as well, that when people are coming, and especially when they're coming from the photography world and seeing this kind of digital artworks, they always need an entrance. And with these kind of poems, and so they really experience it, and they really liked it, and they was really interested to talk about and to understand. This was really, really great yesterday, I have to say.
Okay, and so yeah, just Anna Maria, maybe for people who don't know the project, because you mentioned that we are showcasing the pieces 7, 8, 9 from the project, but it's a 12 pieces project, so that you initiated 2.5 years ago, basically. And yeah, what it is about, basically?
Yeah, Anna, I think.
No, happy for you to explain, Anne, if you prefer.
No. I think you were so great in explaining your works.
So thank you, John, and apologies I was late. Rem and I were on the wrong link this morning for a few minutes, just hanging out, the two of us. So it was good that we figured out that you guys were all here. Thank you for having me again. It's really special to be at Perry Photo. The building is absolutely stunning for me. It's part of the experience, absolutely. And to be surrounded by such wonderful art. I'm really happy to bring this this collection to Paris, home of so much avant-garde writing. For me, Borges really pioneered the idea that the book was more than an object, but a representation of how people view themselves. And I think that, and also the way that we view ourselves within the world. He has, of course, really famous short stories like The Library of Babel, which in short really tries to show how little we know. The book is the representation of the impossibility of knowledge, right? A bit of an inverse there. But the Book of Imaginary Beings, I think, tries to show what makes us human, which is our imagination, our ability to dream and invent. And in the preface for the book, Borges really digs into what is real and what isn't, and that very fine line, like why is an elephant not in the Book of Imaginary Beings, but rather in a zoo where, or a giraffe. They're just as incredible as a dragon. And my project approaches the book from a documentary filmmaker's perspective. So I'm trying to approach the being by documenting my approach, very much also in line with the work of Sophie Calle, an artist that I really love. And I'm documenting the approach using 3 different texts for each being. The Spanish original text by Borges and Margarita Guerrero, a translation that Borges supervised by Norman Thomas Di Giovanni, and then a new poem that I'm also writing for each of the 12 total beings. And then I triangulate these readings of AI of the text, of the copy-pasted texts, into collages that try to represent our notions of the being. So right now, for example, we're seeing Tao Tie, which is, if you pause here for a second, this is a Chinese being, which is a dog with 2 bodies that was placed on bowls. You probably have seen them in maybe museums, these 3-legged bowls that show a dog on the head on the front and then like 2 bodies on the sides. And it was used to warn against gluttony. And in the text, I really love the fact that Borges mentioned the Tao Tie as like a minor being. Fanny yesterday made me laugh, said, not a blue chip monster, an emerging monster. And it's true, it's an emerging monster. And intertextuality weighs very heavily in my work, and also in the work of Borges, the way that many texts weave within our minds to become sort of the idea of who we are, or our ability to read the world. And I love this poem by Auden, W.H. Auden, one of the most famous poets from the past century, about let's say an event, the fall of grace of Icarus, and how Bruegel in the Musée des Beaux-Arts in Belgium painted it as a tiny little event in this massive, huge, important canvas. And so, the center of the actual canvas becomes minor. And Borges's description of the Tao Tie as a minor being connected in my mind with this poem. So I made the Tao Tie an homage to intertextuality, an homage to Auden, and an homage to the minor, and what it really means for the masters like Borges, like Auden, like Bruegel, to explore how we diminish disaster in art, how we diminish foreign failure, foreign tragedy. And for me, I sort of come into contest with Auden's point of view that that the masters like Bruegel minimize disaster in order to show how humans don't care. I actually think that the minimizing of disaster represents how we care very much and how we're very much attached to foreign failure. And so this poem is about that. And the final sequence of beings in Tao Tie on the right represents a literal reading of my poem by AI. So what's interesting to me, John, about AI text-to-image generation is actually the new ways we're using language. How language now becomes literal via the visual. As a poet, you use language to create images in people's minds. But now as a poet, I'm also creating images that are visual manifestations of texts. And for me, this is a huge leap that is happening, and one that I really want to talk about and to engage with.
I see. Wow. And so I think it's super interesting, because it's really the way, I think there's a lot of questions, I think, that are related also to AI, basically, that are, because sometimes, we are feeling like, comparing the way AI is interpreting data, because this is exactly what we are talking about, when you are talking about creating a visual universe based on the text. This is the way we are interpreting. We have our own algorithm to basically visualize in our imagination a text, and then what you are playing with is also basically showing the differences between the way AI is interpreting and human is interpreting, right?
Exactly. So the Spanish is on the left, the translation is in the center, the poem is on the right. And at the end of the day, AI cannot read Spanish and English, cannot read a prose and a poem in the same way, because they're different sign systems with different constructed signifiers, different words. And it's really interesting to me how in many of the beings that I've created, John, the Spanish gives way to this sort of landscape setting that's kind of from a distance. The storytelling, I feel, is diminished in a way. But then in the English, there's all these human elements that become very, very important, as if the AI has an easier time attaching human figures to the descriptions. And then in the poem, it's usually this wild card, because I'm using language, typically in different ways. So the AI, I think, is also just kind of leaping and is less direct and less literal, let's say, in its reading. Here we see Auden in the middle of this tapestry of different creatures. That's the poem W.H. Auden.
That's super interesting. That's super interesting. And so when you are showing a collage, basically you will have a mix of these three pictures plus the original text of the poem, right?
Yes. And I chose red in kind of a newspaper-ish font because I'm usually, when you use red, John, it's because you're correcting a manuscript. And I wanted to draw attention to the fact that I'm writing over text that already exists. Lots of text, not only Borges's, but every time the Tao Tie has been written about in history, in a way, I'm writing over that. And that's why I use the red ink in my poem.
Okay. Can you maybe just take a second example, maybe with another animal? I don't know, the one you want, maybe the double or...
Yeah, the double, sure. That's
okay.
A great one.
Okay, awesome. Maybe you can explain what is what is a double, basically.
So this is actually a really interesting being, and it's this was pre-acquired, and I gave the collector who wanted to be part of the being Borges, let's say cabal, the book, and I said pick a being. And John, they took forever. I sent them the book in June, not to throw them under the water, but it was August, end of August, and I'm like, okay, I have to create these, and so I picked like this terrifying being, Scylla, this really sort of scary one that I actually really love. And I said, if you don't send me your being, by tomorrow, I'm going to do Scylla. I hope you like Scylla. And they're like, no. Nothing like a deadline, right? And so they picked.
Actually, just in terms of project management, is always the way I get answers is by deciding this. Just say, if I have no answer from you, I will choose this one, and then it's the best way to get an answer.
And so they picked the double, which is not really a being, but an idea. Again, here is, Borges, again, questioning what's real and what isn't. So the double is the idea of our twin, of encountering our mirror. And it's in the book, it's a description that is really scraps of text woven into a tapestry, like a quilt, of how the Talmud reads the double, how Celtic myth reads the double, but then also Borges quotes Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher, with that one-liner that I take issue with, which is know thyself. That sort of impossible, simple command of know yourself, right? Sure, okay. And for this being, John, for a really long time, I wanted to write a poem called a duplex, which is a new poetic form invented by a poet called Jericho Brown, who recently won the Pulitzer for having invented this form, which is called a gutted sonnet. So it's a decomposed blues poem / sonnet, which is an old Italian poetic form, like from the days of Plutarch. And I took the duplex and applied it to the double. So you'll see in the poem, there's all this repetition. And that is, part of the structure of it. So the first and last line are supposed to reflect each other loosely. And then the second and third, fourth and fifth. So there's all these mirrors happening, which I thought really expressed the idea of the double, or of the idea of duplicity within ourselves, right? Like we really encounter God sometimes when we encounter that sense of the soul within us, which was also a recurring theme in Borges's work. So here you'll see in the double, the first and the last line sort of flip each other's meanings. And then there's also this repetitioning happening internally. And I use the word gutted also to pay homage to the term gutted sonnet. And for me, really, where I feel doubled, or I feel an eerie sense of who am I, is when I travel and I'm coming home from a trip. And it's like, who am I? Am I the person who left, or am I the person who comes back? And it takes me like a couple of days to find that sense of self within the space of home. And so that is what my poem is about. And you'll see in the images that are created for the double, how there's all these mirroring happening in the Spanish. For example, that those two apartment buildings sort of mirrored by this hand in the middle connecting them. The two women, which I was really happy because typically I get men in the image creation. So I was really happy to include some women. And then we have the airport, the feet sticking out of the suitcase again, as I mentioned before, with the images created from the poem. They tend to be more abstract and wilder because language is being used in weird ways.
Wow, I see. And just for the I would say the methodology, you're not taking the first image that is coming from the algorithm. You are selecting also, right?
Yes, I'm selecting one that speaks to me. And I also liked, if you see in the airport on the left, the text, it almost says Anna. It's like AWA, but also maybe ANA in that on the right image. Sorry, the right image on the upper left.
Oh, yeah, right. You can see like A-way, NA, something. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is a sign. I'm picking this. That's my double, right? There's Anna doubled.
No, that's super nice.
Yeah, I also put the know thyself in the poem, you know, that little line, and I say, know thyself, an old one said, and tripped me up. So I think that's why you see the man tripping like in the suitcase.
No, thank you. And we are super late and we need to close this room, but I need to ask you to read a poem before we leave. I'm sorry. Would it be okay for you to read the double for us?
Yes, it's the shortest one too, so that's good.
Yeah.
The double. Not to be confused with otherness. My suitcase emerges, my suitcase surfaces from the airport's gut. Suits gutted, transported, frail surface encased. I secure my luggage. My form heads home. Home is not security, not head, not form. It's the self I leave when I abscond. Leave it to me to abscond selfishly and arrive supplied with fresh ways to still. Still, refresh supply goes wayward fast. I scan maps, double down on routes that become tracks. Down the route come double tracks. Me and she map one knot. The trip's up. I hold old baggage. Know thyself, an old one held and tripped me up. To be confused with otherness is to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much. It's you're not only an awesome writer and artist, but also an awesome reader. So it's always great to listen to this.
I tripped up a little there, but it's okay, right?
For everybody who is in town, please come at 11:30 to the fair, because Anna is doing a reading of all the three.
Oh, actually, it's perfect transition also before closing, because this is what I want to ask. So if we come to the fair 11:30, live reading from Anna on the booth, and just wanted to come back to ask to you also, Anne. So the 3 pieces, I saw that one of them is sold. 2 of them are still available, right?
2 are sold already, and the Tao Tea is the one that is available. And if you interested in it, you get a full collector set. So there's the digital components. It's the collage and the 3 images, the AI generated images, and the digital version of the poem. And then you get the signed poem and a print of the collage in the size 100 to 60.
So you're acquiring one body of work, basically.
Exactly.
Including the 3 images, the poetry written by Anna, plus the digital and the physical one, right?
Exactly.
And the collage.
And we are cooperating with Verse, so it's everything. All informations are also collected on our side, but also on the Verse side. And it's the piece. It's as we are in an art fair, so we have to say price. It's $8,500.
Is it already available on Verse website?
Yes, it is.
It is already on Verse website. So we'll share the link for everybody if you are interested. I really wanted to thank you for being with us this morning. I feel like I'm really lucky to have to get this chat in the morning with both of you. And so just to remind people. So if you can go to the fair, to the digital sector. Otherwise, you can go. We'll share the Office Impact website to get the info and check directly on Verse. And on the other hand, thank you also, Thomas, for being with us. I think Erica has to left, and also Olga is somewhere But it's a fair. We have to do stuff also in the same time. But just to remind people also that your collection, the collection created in collaboration with Erika Weitz, Cymatic, is also basically people will be able from November 12th to go on FXH and to get the 100 pieces digital version, and then order a commission if they want to on top of it. And you already have 5 physical pieces also available on site at the Paris Photo. So thank you very much, Thomas. And
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And for everybody, for people who are following live, actually, we are not done, because we will come back in 5 minutes actually with another show with Marlene Coburn from La Collection and Jack Butcher for his new project, that he's also presenting here. And tomorrow we will have much more. We still have, I think until the end of the week, we have 4 or 5 more podcasts to be recorded. So busy week for everybody. Thank you again. Have a great day. Have a great fair. Have a great conversations. Enjoy, because it's I think it's an important moment, I believe. So have a great day.
Thank you, John.
Thank you so much. Bye, Thomas. See you
Good
soon.
morning.
Oh, Anna, see ya.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Happy. Good morning. Really happy. Good morning.